Say welcome everyone to the webinar. My name is Jaffa. I'm sort of part of the product team at Author Online, and I'm sure you've probably seen me on live chats and tutorials before. We're delighted to introduce to you our brand new live bank feed, which we've been working on for quite a while. It's an integrated solution that allows you to reconcile your rents, your sort of property owner transactions, your contractor transactions, all within Arthur, and manage it all within one system. So yeah, before we go on, I just want to start with the copyright notice over here. So if you guys can all just take a read of this really quickly before we move on. Okay, so for the agenda today, what I want to do first, I just want to give you a bit more information about what it actually is, what it can do, what it can't do, and what sort of businesses is it good for. Then I want to go through a demonstration, and then finally we'll go through a Q&A. So if you use Zoom, you'll see here towards the bottom right of your sort of chat window, there'll be an option to post questions. If you can just hold on those right until the end, that would be great, because we sort of devote the time at the end for it. I can imagine there's going to be lots of specific questions sort of regarding your setup and if it's right for you. So I'll do my best to answer those towards the end, and hopefully they can apply to as many people as possible. But so what is it? So like I said, it's a live bank feed. It's an integrated feed with a reconciliation tool designed for client account reconciliation. So we've partnered with CMA9, which is the 9 major UK high street banks. So sort of NatWest, Lloyds, HSBC, those sort of banks. Alongside Handelsbanken, the business and the personal accounts, as well as finally Monzo. So we support 12 to 13 banks to begin with. We have the option to start supporting more in the future. So if you guys do have any banks that you guys currently operate with that aren't in the available list that we'll sort of go through very shortly, please just go ahead, drop us an email at support@arthuronline.co.uk, and we'll take that into account and see what we can to try and get support for that. So yeah, it's a live feed with a reconciliation tool. Like I said, it's an easy reconciliation for your key stakeholders, so property owners, contractors, and tenants. And within that, you've also got the ability to reconcile payments that don't actually relate purely to Arthur. So if you had any mortgage payments go out through there, stuff like that, you can reconcile those things and still account for them in a profit and loss or a balance sheet or a trial balance, whatever you're trying to achieve on that sense. And sort of linked to that, we've got some great reporting for you guys. So you guys are going to be able to sort of really shortly report by profit and loss by property, by tenancy, for the whole account at once. Sort of any sort of the majority of reports that you're going to be able to need to do, you'll be able to do through us. And like I said, it's a streamlined solution to manage everything in one system. What we've done is we've been sort of trialing it with some clients, in the meantime, whilst we're waiting to release it to everyone else. And the sort of our best practice, if you will, is it lets people do their client accounting in Arthur and handle their business accounting separately. So sort of now I covered what it does, I want to also sort of cover what it doesn't do. So it's not a full-on accountancy package. It's not there to completely replace Xero or QuickBooks, depending on how you're using it. So for example, we aren't able to handle payroll like you can through Xero and QuickBooks. You don't have a direct integration to HMRC. You don't have detailed payable and receivable analysis for contacts outside of Arthur, such as sort of your mortgage provider. But what it can do is, like I said, you can reconcile everything that runs through your bank feed. You can do detailed reports for your tenants and your property owners. You can create a profit and loss. You can create a balance sheet. You can really see how profitable key areas of your business are. But like I said, it is not a full-on accountancy package. If you need to have your client account directly integrated to HMRC, if for some reason you handle sort of payroll through one account, you don't have a separate client account, and let's say your rent, your payroll for your staff, so that all goes through one place, then that's where it makes sense to use Xero or QuickBooks. But what we've sort of seen is a lot of people had been choosing to use Xero and QuickBooks, but only using it as a reconciliation tool rather than taking advantage of the rest of the suite of functionality they offer, because they don't necessarily need to. And something like our integrated live bank feed allows you to sort of fill that role. And like I said, we're really excited for you guys to try it. So what we're actually going to be doing is it's actually going to be offered to you guys completely for free throughout January, February, and March. And after which, in April, it will be charged £12.99 per month. So you have a chance to just try it if you want to and see if you like it or So I hope that answers some basic questions. Like I said, I can imagine someone's asked if Santander is included, and yes, they are. So yes. Sorry about my microphone. I'll try and move it a little bit. But yeah, $12.99 per calendar month, and yes, Santander is supported. So the next stage is, I said, I can imagine there's going to be quite a lot of questions regarding your sort of individual setup. So I say if we can leave those to the end, that'd be fantastic. So next, like I said, we're going to be doing a demonstration. So what I'm going to go through first is how to set it up within Arthur. So how to sort of subscribe to the service, how to set up a bank account, how to set up the live feed, and the whole process behind that. Some various reconciliation scenarios, such as underpaying and overpaying a rent, and showing you our sort of advanced matching method, as well as undoing reconciliation. And after which, like I said, within the Q&A, we can discuss some specific use cases. Perfect. Okay, so I have Arthur up on here. So like I said, the first thing I just want to go through is how you can actually subscribe to the service. So that's done through the Arthur store. So if you click onto the Arthur store over here, within accounting platforms at the top, you've got Arthur Live Bank Feed. You can click onto it on here, and then you simply just press subscribe to go ahead and do that. And like I said, it's going to be free until April 2021, at which point it'll be charged at $12.99 plus that per calendar month. Okay, so to actually get into the reconciliation tool, the first thing you do is you click into the financials area on the left, and then you go into your bank account section. So what I want to do is, before I sort of go into detail of this, I want to show you the whole setup process behind setting this up. So the first thing you select is you select add bank account. And what I will do here is I'm just going to put, let's say, Lloyd's client account as a test on here. Okay, and then you guys can enter your account number, and your sort code. So I'm just going to put in a few zeros on here, and then press save bank account. Okay, and that is the first step. And now what you need to do is you need to set it up. So we've tried to make this as simple for you as possible. So the first thing you'll do is click this little drop down over there, and then press set up bank balance. And what you need to do essentially is you need to select a conversion date to which you want to start using the system. So what this is the date that your bank balance so your bank statements are going to start generating from. So the way we've done it is we've made it a really simple migration for you guys. So for example, if you wanted to start using it today, you could. And what you do is you would select your conversion date. So let's say it'd be the 13th of the 1st, 2021. So I'll just do that on here. And then what you need to do within that is you need to select a starting balance. So that is essentially, if you look at the little question mark on here, this is the bank balance the day before your conversion date. So what you do is you source your bank balance at close of business on the 12th of January in this scenario. So let's say it was £1,000. And that would be that. There's like I said, what we recommend you do is, let's say, you did pick the 13th as your conversion date. Whatever system you've been using in the past to reconcile your rents and keep your account fully up to date, whether that be Xero, QuickBooks, or the payoff charge function in Arthur, or sort of whatever you guys currently use, have that fully up to date as of the 12th. And then, like I said, source your bank balance as of the 12th, put that into the starting balance field, and then in the conversion date, you'd put the date that you want transactions to start flowing from. So once I've got that, I just press save, and that is the setup process. And finally, the second thing that you guys need to do is actually link it to the live feed. So to do that, you literally just press set up bank feed. And what shows up on here is a list of all the banks that we integrate to. So like I said, somebody earlier asked about Santander. You can see here, Santander UK PLC is here. And we have a few more on that list. Someone's asking if this is going to be available for replay. Yes, it's currently being recorded, so you guys will be able to see it then. So what I'm just going to do for just demonstration's sake, I'm just going to put Barclays Business on here. But you could put whichever one that you operate with. And then you go on to next. And essentially what you need to do here is you just got a confirmation messages. So you just have to, you've got your data sharing, secure connection, just, go through here, press the I, read those things, make sure you're happy with them. At which point you'd press confirm. So obviously I can't, connect to a live Barclays account on this webinar. But what you do is upon pressing confirm, you would be redirected straight to a Barclays Business sort of online login page, the same way you log into your online banking at any other point. You'd proceed to do the login as you usually would. You'd select the account that you want to connect to, and then just press connect on And again, it's a really simple process. It's pretty straightforward. Somebody's asking about HSBC. Yes, you can get it with HSBC. With an HSBC client account, as far as I'm aware, for HSBC Business. If you do have any issues with that, just let us know. But we've had somebody test it on HSBC Business with a client account, so I don't think there'll be too many issues in that front. But yeah, if you do have any problems, just sort of please keep us up to date. Yorkshire Bank, again, I'm not sure. Look through the list. If anyone's that aren't on there, just sort of let us know. And that is a set process behind integrating into a live feed. The other option we have is, so again, if I just go back onto this screen here, is that if your bank isn't supported through here as a live feed, like I said, what the first thing we'll do is we'll try our best to get it set up. Like I said, there's a load of banks that we can actually use. We've picked sort of the most popular to begin with. But if not, you can actually do a CSV import, and you can manually import a bank statement, which will operate the same way, but obviously you have to do a manual side of it. So that's actually what I've done on this one here. So I've actually sort of created a sort of dummy bank statement, if you will, and I've imported it. So before I get into the reconciliation, I just want to talk through the screen a little bit more with you guys. So the first thing we have is we've got some sort of month-to-date figures. And what this is just a good way to get a little snapshot about how you guys are performing in each account in any given month. And what it does is, so certain transaction types in Arthur, you assign them to be an income, an expense, an asset, or a liability. And essentially what happens is, every transaction that you've reconciled to the bank, depending on the account type, gets logged on here. So you can basically add a really brief snapshot to see how you're performing, sort of at a level within each account. It's not like a sort of intrinsic report. It doesn't give you sort of detailed analysis, just a little snapshot so you can see what's going on. And what we try to do is try to put 4 little counters on here to help you as well. So incoming payments is a sum of all your unreconciled received items, and you can see how many you've got in here. So I've got 19 items to reconcile, totaling £11,125. I have my outgoing payments, which is a sum of all unreconciled outgoing payments. In this case, it totals to 4,232. Within here, I have my bank balance as well. And this is why it's really important to set your conversion date and your starting balance correct. Because what this is used to calculate the balance you have within that bank currently. So what this is essentially, this is the starting balance plus a sum of your bank statements from a particular date, from that particular conversion date. So in the example we gave, it would be £1,000 plus the sum of my bank statements as of the 13th onwards. And then the Arthur balance is the sum of all your reconciled transactions plus your starting balance. So in theory, once you've reconciled all your incoming and all your outgoing payments, these two figures should match. And if they don't, then you might have a problem. And that's sort of when you come to ask us, we might investigate it. There might be a problem with how you've been reconciling certain things. But now that we've gone through that screen, let's actually go through and show you the reconciliation tool. So to actually start reconciling, you just go to the financials and bank accounts and you get onto this page on here, and then you just press start reconciliation. So on the left, essentially you have your bank statements, and on your right, you've got an option to sort of interrogate them and how to deal with them. What you can see here first is you've got the description on the bank line. So, this would be if somebody put a reference for rent. You have the payee. So if you're manually importing the bank statement, what you can do is you can actually put the payee on there to make it a little bit easier for you to reconcile. You've got the date that the money was come in and whether it's a received item or a spent item. And then on the right, what you have here is you've got a suggested match, and then you have the option to search your transactions, search your transfers, add a transaction, and something called assign to. What I'm going to do first is I'm just going to go through the basic matching. I'll go through how to sort of underpay a transaction. So if they pay sort of less than their full value of rent, how to overpay a transaction. So if they've given you a little bit extra, alongside how to reconcile multiple transactions at once, and then how to add transactions straight onto the bank feed, and finally how to deal with transactions that don't purely relate to Arthur. So essentially what happens here is, if you notice, so we've sort of implemented a matching logic to sort of be as beneficial to you guys as possible. So for all the people who've previously used Xero or QuickBooks, the way their matching logic works is they simply look at the amount that came in on the bank statement and match it to the amount on the to an amount on an invoice. Somebody asked about the payee automatically appearing with a live feed. Unfortunately, that's not possible because that information isn't sourced. So when they get payment from it, doesn't show that as a field within the online banking template that sort of gets given. So the payee isn't on there. But what I should say will hopefully help deal with that a bit further. So like I said, what Xero and QuickBooks do is they simply look at the amount. And if there's an invoice of £500 that matches a received item of £500, it will just suggest that. And what we've tried to do is we've tried to take this a bit more advanced and how to make it really cater to you guys. So the first thing we've done is if your tenant who sends you their rent implements their TE number in the description, which we've seen a huge uptake for, if property managers ask their tenants to quote their TE number, the majority of them do it, in which case it actually suggests their rent first. So what you can see here is I've got two received items of £500, one that came in on the 5th and one that came in on the 8th. And in the one that came in on the 8th, the tenant put their TE numbers. They put in T1003 December rent, whereas the other one didn't. And you can see here what it's done is it's actually suggested TE 1003's rent because it's gone, oh, okay, this is the sort of one that they've quoted. So I will suggest this one. And what this will do is, let's say you have 50 tenants whose rent is all due on the 1st and 10 of them will pay the same amount. If they put in their TE number, that will allow you to really smoothly reconcile it. And the second thing we've done to make it a bit smoother for you guys is that we've also looked at the date of the transaction and match it against the date of the bank line. So you can see here on the 5th of December, 2020, that was £500 in. It suggested to a 5th of December one, 8th of December invoice on Arthur. But if we scroll down, you can see that they've also sent money in January, and it's actually chose to suggest it against the January invoice rather than the December one. So it sort of looks for the closest date. So again, we've really tried to put in a few things to make it like as simple as possible for you guys and as straightforward as possible for you guys to reconcile. So essentially, hopefully that makes sense to you guys, and hopefully that can be beneficial. But like I said, once you've got that successful match, the first thing that you need to do is so you see here the 500 to 500. I know this is TE 1003's rent. Once I'm happy with that, I simply just press match. And what that will do is that will create a receipt on TE 1003 statement to allow us to see that the rent was reconciled. So if I open up my tenancies page on Arthur and I just search TE 1003, and I go into Alan Smith's tenancy and I go into their statement, you can see here what it's done is it's created that receipt there. And if you look into that a little bit, you can see that it has a status as reconciled on the bank feed. So you know that that's come through properly. So that is the most basic scenario if you've got a simple match. Obviously, unfortunately, everything's not going to be that easy. And unfortunately, everyone's, not going to put their TE numbers and they might pay an odd amount of rent. So what you can do in that case is if it's suggested a match and it's not one, all you need to do is simply press not a match, click here, and then you have all these options over here. So the first one you can do is, let's say, search transaction. And if you press search, you've got a list of all your transactions on here. What's great is you can filter to show specific transaction types. So let's say it's a deposit. What you can do is I could sort of click this drop down and I could search for registered deposit charge, and that shows up over there. And you can also search from amounts within a range. So if it's a 500, you can do it from there. And what else you can do just in general is you can search onto here. So that allows you to do that. And let's say I didn't want to reconcile against the December rent, but I want to reconcile against Christopher Robin's rent over here, for example. So once I know it's that, and I know it's a TE 1000, what I would do is I'd tick this box over here. I'd be happy with that. I'd press select, at which point you can press match. So like I said, the first thing you do is select not a match, click here, search transaction. You find the one you want, you tick that. You could even, if you know the tenancy numbers, for example, you could search TE 1002, for example. And you've got that on there. You can pick which one you want, tick the box, and press select. And then again, like I said, once you're happy with those, you can simply press match. The other reconciliation side I wanted to go through is it's on an underpaid rent. So what you can see here is this person has sent in £525, but there's no suggested match of 525 because I don't have an invoice of 525. So what I would do is I'd literally press search transaction on here. And the description says Alex. So I'm just going to look for Alex on here and press search. And his rent is showing up here is 1,299. Okay. So if I tick this box over here, what you do within amount reconcile is you put into how much they've actually paid off. So Alex paid 525. Although the total invoice is 1,299, he's obviously not paying that whole amount off. He's actually only paying 525 of it. So you simply just enter 525 onto there. Once you're happy with that, you press select. You've got those within here. And then after that, you can simply just press match. So if we go onto Alex's statement, so if I search there, I'll just search TE1012. Oh, sorry, within here. If I just search TE1012. It's 1002, my mistake. I go onto there and I press onto the statement. You can actually see here, so for the one that we fully reconciled, the 1,299 has come across, and then there's like a zero outstanding balance, whereas the one that we've part reconciled for 525, there's £774 remaining on here. So the other scenario I want to go through with you guys is if somebody actually overpays their rent. So for example, they've sent £600, whereas actually their rent is 500, and how you go about logging that. So like I said, the first thing it does initially look for the amount. So when you haven't got a match, like I said, you simply press not a match, click here. And then you press onto the search. And let's say it's actually Chris Parrott's rent that's being paid off here. So there's an extra, the total amount, if I tick it on here, you'll see there's actually £50 left. To which point I can still press select. And what you'd see here is there's still £50 left. Okay, and to which point I can do is I can press search and add more, and I can press add transaction. And what we've done is we've let you actually directly add this straight onto the statement over here. So I want to add it for Chris, who's in TE1004. So if I just search TE1004, Chris will pop up on here. And if it's an overpayment, the transaction type that I want to select is something called a tenancy receipt. So I'll select that. Then in the description, I'll just put overpayment of rent, for example. The specific payee who's paying it is Chris. So I've gone that there. And I will set the date as, let's say, just the 10th of December. And then the amount that they're overpaying is, not sorry, £60, is £50. And then you simply just press add. And what it's done here is you can see here, now the total is 600 and the amount to reconcile is 600 because you've added a £50 overpayment to their statement. So I just press send, and at which point I can press match on here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go to Chris's statement on TE1004 so you can see what we've actually set up. If I just go TE1004, I open up Chris's statement and I go into here. What you'll see here is there's two transactions that have come across, a £550 and then a £50 credit sitting along there as well. So we have that on here. And what we'll do in that case is, so that's that side of it. So that's the overpayment aspect. So what we've gone through is sort of a simple scenario of an easy match, if they've underpaid, if they've overpaid. What I want to do also is go through a example for somebody who's, let's say, they've just moved in and they've actually paid you their rent and their deposit. So it's multiple transactions at once. So what you can do to actually handle that is if I scroll down, you can see here, I have a £900 received item over here. So let's say I know for a fact that that's a rent and a deposit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press search transaction and I'll get my listable transactions on here. And for example, I know that this relates to, let's say, my tenant, Patrick. So I'll just search Patrick onto here. And what we'll do is you can, actually, sorry, for example, so for 1,100, sorry, Patrick over here. So I said same thing, you just go to search transaction and let me just search for my tenant, Patrick again. He's paid a £800 rent. So I've ticked that and I said, the full amount is being paid of £800, but he's also paying a £300 deposit. So I can tick that as well. And what here's said, that says 1,100, 1,100, that's gone through on here. And I can simply just press match on there. So like I said, what you can see is you can actually reconcile against multiple transactions, not just one. So this would, in theory, be applicable to, let's say, you're a social housing, you have a social housing portfolio, and a council pays you for, let's say, 15 rents at once. What you can actually do is you can search and tick all the 15 invoices that are actually being paid, partly credit them, send them over here, and you can simply just press match on there. So I hope that makes sense. And the final thing that I want to sort of show you guys within the sort of basic reconciliation scenarios is that what you can actually do is we allow you to do an adjustment. So, for example, if you have somebody who has an international tenant who, let's say, they sent their rent across and 35p or something got deducted from their thing in terms of bank fees, what you can really simply do to actually do that is you can actually reconcile it like that. So what I'm just going to go to search transaction over here. Although that was 900 that's come in, I'm just going to, sorry, let me find a better example for this one. So let's say the £40, then let's say the 900 that's coming here. So let's say I just want to tick against the full £500 on this one. And if I just go into here and I just want to do 399 and 97, so that would essentially looks like that there's sort of 3p off simply because of the fact that a certain amount has been taken via bank fees. So what you can simply do is you can literally just press the adjustment button over there and you say what the adjustment relates to. So we actually have a default code for bank fees. It auto fills it in, and then to which one you can press match. So if you guys do have any international tenants who are likely to suffer from that, and bank fees will go through, you can really easily reconcile those and actually log and account for your bank fees as you go on. So what that does is that covers all your key reconciliation scenarios. So if they underpay, if they overpay, if they part pay, and also if there's any sort of multiple things that are being reconciled or even dealing with bank fees. And this simply isn't just for received items, it's also for spent items. So if you see here, I've actually got £100 that was spent for repairs, and I have a contractor transaction here of £100 and it's letting me match against that. So on the spending side, you can actually reconcile against your contractor transactions, your contractor remittances, as well as your property owner remittances and your one-off payments to your owners. So again, it's been sort of designed both ways to help with that. So again, like I said, I know this one is matches, so I'm just going to press match onto here. The other thing I want to show you guys is we've actually introduced the ability so you can add transactions on the fly on the statement. So let's say, for example, you had either, let's say, a contractor charge, or maybe you had your tenant give you a one-off payment and you haven't actually added the transaction onto the after statement yet. Rather than having to sort of add the transaction to the after statement and then go onto the bank rec and then reconcile it on there, you can actually do it all at once. So obviously we went through that example of Patrick earlier. Let's say in here, Patrick gave me £100 one-off as a cleaning charge. And I haven't actually added that to my statement yet. But what I can actually do is I can add that and reconcile it on the go. So when you know that's the case and let's say you haven't added it to the statement, it could be a payment to a contractor, it could be a one-off payment to an owner, or it could even be, like I said, something like this when it's come in from the tenant. What you need to do is select add transaction. You pick who it's related to. So I'm just going to search Patrick on here. So Patrick over here, and then you select the transaction type. So if you look at the example I gave, to me, that's like an income for my business. So we have a generic code in Arthur for sundry charges. So I'm just going to select sundry charge over there. And then in the description, I'm going to put what it is. So in the example I gave, it's for cleaning. And it's paid by the tenant. Who's paying it? Patrick. And you can select the due date of the invoice as well. So like I said, if it was actually due, let's say 2 weeks ago, and you forgot to add it, you can actually set it for a bit earlier. So I'm just going to set it for, let's say, the 15th of December. And within amount net, it was £100. So I can put 100 over here as well. And there wasn't any VAT in this case. So then I can just press add. And that's literally added that to there. And I just try something called send on here. And this will let me reconcile it. You can see here it hasn't got a TR reference yet because the transaction hasn't actually been fully added. Once you match it, it will go ahead and fully add it. So now that it's done that, I'll go to Patrick's statement just so you can see it over here. So I'm just going to search for Patrick on the left. Tenancy. I'll just go to the tenancies over here. Always runs a little bit slower when you're running on the webinars. Okay, once that loads, we can go through that. But essentially, that is the majority of reconciliation scenarios you'll need to handle. So we actually said let you add things on the fly. But one thing that we recognize is that not everything that runs through your client account or whatever account you choose to link up to this is going to be purely related to a property owner statement, a tenant rent statement, or a contractor statement. There might be other things, like I said, you might receive some bank fees. It could sort of be anything that flows across. So what we've done is we actually introduced something to allow you to reconcile in those key scenarios. So what you can do is you can press a little button here that says assign to. And what you select is basically you select if whether it's an income, an expense, an asset, or a liability. So what I'm going to do is, in the example here, it's actually interest fees that come from the bank. So I can just say income. What we've tried to do for you is we've tried to add some basic ones over here. So within incomes, we've got interest fees as well as a code for sort of miscellaneous income. Within expense, we've got bank fees, advertising, salaries, interest, and travel. Within assets, we've included office equipment and leasehold improvements. And within liabilities, we've included deposits. What you can actually do is you've introduced the option to actually go ahead and add your own versions of these. I've seen, two people ask about reconciling transfers of management fees. I'll go through that after this scenario over there. The payments out to the property owners get reconciled the exact same way as a contractor transaction would. But I'll go through those scenarios very shortly. But like I said, these are the default ones we have here within income, expense, asset, and liabilities. And what you can do is you can actually add your own ones as well. So if you know there's something that you're receiving or you're charging for, what you can do is you can add it in as a code on here. And to do that, you simply go into analysis code within financials, select add analysis code. I'm just going to put, let's say, just test in here for the sake of the call. And you state whether it's an income, an expense, an asset, or a liability. So I'm just going to put expense in this case. And all you need to do, crucially, is tick this box here that says available for cash book reconciliation. And what that will let you do is that will let you get you go through there and press save. I see quite a few people are asking quite a few questions on the chat. Like I said, if you can hold off until the end, import them in the Q&A section, and that will allow you to do that. So I'll be able to go through them properly at that stage. So like I said, you can add your own custom ones in. So now if I go into the bank account section and I go into start reconciliation like I was before, I added that one in as an expense. So if I go assign to expense, you can see the test code that we've set up is on here. So what I'd sort of recommend you do if you decide you want to use this, have a quick think of all the types of things you might charge for or that might run through a bank in terms of income, expenses, assets, and liabilities, and add those in beforehand. But this one is an example where I've received it and I want to regard it as my income. It's an interest fee. So I'll select income over here. Within transaction types, like I said, I'll go for interest fees in this case, but like I said, I could pick miscellaneous income or even add my own. In the description, you put if there's VAT included in the transaction, not whether it's zero rated, tax exempt, or not applicable. I'm going to go for not applicable in this case, and I'm just going to say interest in the description, December. Okay. And then what you can do here is you can select a payee. Obviously, you won't have your bank as a payee on here, or sort of maybe a lot of these people as a payee on here. So what you can do is you can actually add them in currently. And let's say I just want to put in NatWest Bank, for example, within here in this case. And once I know that's the payee, I'll create that on there. And what I'll do is that is a separate group, and they'll always show up within the search of people for me to reconcile against last time. So you don't need to add the payee each time. If I add it in once at the beginning here, that'll be applicable to everything else. Once that's all correct, so you can see here the payee, the transaction type, the VAT code, the interest fee, and the description, all you do is just press match over here. So what we've had a few people so far ask about how to reconcile sort of property owner transactions, as well as how to do how to reconcile sort of transfers of income. That is very easy to do because we have two integrated tools within Arthur that allow you to do that. So if I go into my financials over there and I select property owner remittance, obviously this is only people who actually sort of, remit to owners. This is a whole sort of separate webinar. What I can do is anyone who wants to learn more about how to remit to your owners in a more detailed fashion, you can either sort of book a tutorial with a member of the finance team, or if you ask on Intercom on the live chat, we can send you a link for a detailed webinar we've done on this. I won't have time to sort of properly go into detail in this scenario. But if you are someone who does regularly remit to your owners, you'll sort of know how to do this. Like I said, you just access it through the property owner remittance. If I go to select transactions and remit, I have these transactions here within my remittance. I'm simply just going to press remit transactions over there. And then what you do is you make sure to select the correct bank. And the reason it's important to select the correct bank is that is what bank it will show up as on the live feed. So I'm going to select NatWest client account on here. And the remittance date, I'm just going to put in, let's say tomorrow, or today, the 13th of Jan. And I'll press remit to property owner. And essentially, I don't have a spent item of that exact value. But if I go to my bank account section and I go to start reconciliation, it would show up as a suggested item. So if I click onto search, you can see here the property owner remittance came up on there. If I had a spent item of £1,505.12, it would suggest me to reconcile against that. So I can imagine also what you probably do is you guys probably do your remittances. You'll send all the payments through to the bank. And then once those get logged in on the live feed, you can just simply reconcile those as simply as you want to do and reconcile the rents. What we've also made sure to do within here is we've actually made sure to include the bank transfers. So what we've done within Arthur, for people who aren't aware, is we've actually introduced a section for transferable income. And what this is essentially for people who have to transfer money from a client account out into a business account. And what we've done again is we've made this integrate directly into our live feed. So what it is every certain transaction types in Arthur are logged as being an income or an expense, an asset, or a liability. And whenever you have a transaction that is logged as an income and has been paid, so for example, it could be a direct rent or it could be a remitted management fee, it shows up on the transferable income screen, which is accessible through the financials, and then transferable income. Then what you see here is a list of all the income that you can transfer. So let's say I want to transfer out just these two management fees. I would tick this and I would tick that. And the total amount that I'm transferring is £218. So I just press transfer/recognize income. It says it's coming out of my client account and I can choose to send it to my Lloyd's client account, the other account I had set up. So I'm just going to say testing transfer. And then I will just press confirm. Okay. And then you have to confirm, let you know it's not reversible. So once you're happy with it and you're sure you are, you just press OK over here. And that's disappeared onto there now. So I go onto my fully transferred. You can see here that I fully transferred those. So again, if I just go to my financials and my bank accounts, I go to start reconciliation and I have a spent item. If I search my direct transfers, again, it will let you reconcile that out, assuming the values match. So for any people who operate with property owners, you can really easily reconcile your rent transactions, you can reconcile your remittances, and you can also reconcile your income transfers. And also for any self-managing landlords or people with a guaranteed rent portfolio, if you transfer your money out of your client account into another account, you're able to do that and reconcile that straight through the bank feed, which is a sort of very sort of seamless way to handle it. So yeah, that is the majority of reconciliation scenarios that I wanted to cover with you guys today. What we've tried to do is if I go to knowledge base, there's a section for financials and integrated bank feeds. What we've done is we've essentially tried to get all the articles that we can think of that you guys would need at the beginning. We've added them in, and we've also included videos for how to actually deal with each scenario. So let's say how to deal with the rent overpayment. You've got a step-by-step instruction as well as a video onto here. We've done that for pretty much every article on here. So for anything that you guys will need to know as you're going along, there should be an article for it. Obviously, if you guys don't know the answer to a thing and it's not answered in your knowledge base and you have any questions, you can simply just go into the drop down on the bottom right here and send a message and get in contact with our live chat support team. Who'll be able to sort of walk you through how to sort of do anything that you'll need to do. So now that I've gone through all the sort of basic stuff I wanted to go through, I think it's time for questions. So we've actually got 12 questions in here already. So I'm just going to sort of go through those for now, and then once I've gone through those, if there are any other questions, please go through and ask them. So somebody's asked about Starling Bank. At the moment, we don't support Starling Bank, but like I said, if you email support@Arthur Online and you say you'd like to support Starling Bank, what we're going to do is we're just going to let sort of a few people come in with questions, and we're going to sort of go by popular demand, if you will. So the banks which are asked for most will try and support first, and go from there. So hopefully that answers your question. Somebody asked, isn't the Xero integration free? I already use Xero, so should I just use that integration? So isn't Xero integration free? The actual integration to Xero is free. If you wanted to do it yourself, yes. But obviously you're paying about 20 to £25 a month for Xero. Ours is offered for £12.99. And we tend to integrate our clients to QuickBooks or Xero because of the fact that they're a fairly complicated thing to do by yourself. So this is sort of a much smoother setup process. And again, you've asked I already use Xero, so should I just use that? It really depends. Like I said, it depends on your requirements. If you're literally just using it to reconcile your client account, and all the reporting that you need to do is, for example, like a profit and loss and see how profitable certain units and properties are and tenancies, you can actually do that within Arthur instead. So it might be, worth having a discussion with people in your business. Would I rather say sort of £8-10 a month, have it all integrated into Arthur, sort of not worry about syncs and benefit from the extra advanced reconciliation tool, or do I actually fully use Xero to its capabilities and go for that? So again, that's fully dependent on you. And if you guys have any questions about should I use it, should I not use it, better to come in on the live chat and explain to us your setup, and we can give you a call and discuss it with you, maybe what works best. So I hope that answers your question, Richard. Nicola asks, can you put a date in the past for a conversion date? Yes, you can. So if I just go to my financial section and I go within bank accounts, the account that I set up, if I look at the drop down and go set up bank balance, I set mine up for 1st to the 12th. And I set that up yesterday. So you can really go as far back as you want to go. We don't recommend going too far back because of the fact that it can be sort of quite difficult the more you go back to sort of deal with everything. So it's always easier to go as up to date as possible, or even in the future. But I hope that answers your question, Nicola. Eleanor asks, is that a subscription for this bank account or per company? So it's per company. So if you subscribe to it and you're paying your £12.99 plus VAT a month, and you had 3 client accounts, for example, all 3 client accounts are included in that £12.99 fee. So Someone asked about my microphone. Hopefully that improved as I went on. I just moved it a little bit. Someone asked about the HSBC feed. So like I said, try and connect it to your HSBC feed. We've had a few people come in again who've tested it and have linked to HSBC business and haven't had any problems. So if you do have a problem with it, obviously just please let us know. If not, you can sort of go ahead with that. So that's that side of it. Sorry, someone asked, can we set up both client account and current accounts? Yes, you can. So it's not just client accounts. Like I said, you can integrate as many bank accounts as you want to it, and they don't necessarily have to be client accounts. But to get the full advantage of the software, it makes sense to link it to your client account. Louis has asked about what does the bank fee differ, and shall we use both at the same time? Again, I answered it earlier, but it really depends on you guys. It depends how you're using Xero and if you're taking full advantage of Xero. If you're literally just using Xero to reconcile rents and owner transactions and contractor transactions, and you aren't using its payroll functionality, you don't use the direct integration to HMRC through the client account, all that sort of stuff, then it might make sense to separate your client account and put it in Arthur. It just fully depends on you. So someone asked, is there going to be a way to send payments to the bank account automatically to be paid? What we're looking at, and it's hopefully going to be launched later on in the year, is the ability to actually move money within Arthur, so actually pay your owners and receive rents from tenants directly, and that would all integrate onto this over there. Becky asks, I'm considering getting Xero for business banking. If I have Xero, I wouldn't need this as well, right? Again, it depends. So for example, what a lot of people are doing is, like I said, they're putting on their Xero account, they're running their business account, and often they're running their client account. They're exporting key information as they're going. Again, somebody asked, can this new system be run at the same time as Xero? I've sort of answered that. Briony has answered, we've had problems with the Bank of Ireland not offering a Xero fee through open banking on Xero. is it supported within Arthur? As far as I'm aware, the Bank of Ireland is. If I go to set up, we have, I think we do the Allied Irish Bank. Um, and the Bank of Ireland business and Bank of Ireland UK PLC. So I don't see any reason why that shouldn't work. So what I do is, again, if you want to try setting it up, you can, and then you can obviously, if there are any issues, please let us know. Someone said, we've already doing this, however, the bank account is shown it's constantly syncing. The first sync can take a bit of time, so give it sort of 15, 20 minutes and we can go through there. So sorry I was late. Someone asked about how to do rent refunds. So yes, you can, and they've also asked about, do you support Lloyds Bank? So yes, we do that. So what essentially is that there's a process for Arthur for handling refunds, and those can be reconciled directly on the bank feed as well. Someone asked about the support for cooperative. At the moment, I don't think we support cooperative. Like I said, if there's a bank that you want to use, please ask for it on the support@arthuronline.co.uk email, and basically based on popular demand, we'll try and support as many as we can through there. If we integrate with Xero and reconcile, does this update Xero, or is this instead of having an accounting package? So if you reconciled a transaction on Arthur and it created the payment on Arthur and you sync to Xero, it would also create the payment on Xero and you could reconcile it on Xero. So essentially, you could, in theory, use both in certain scenarios, but then that would really be doubling up on a lot of your work, and it doesn't really make sense to do that. Generally, you'd use one or the other. Like I said, it's realistically the client account on Arthur, and then the business account on Xero. So if you have a separate bank account for your personal tenants from your client tenants, can you use both through Arthur? Yes. So if you see here, Carol, I've got my NatWest client and my Lloyds client. That could say, personal tenants, client tenants, whatever you call your banks, and you can have two different feeds set up all within the $12.99. Emma asked, where can you find a list of all the banks that are currently supported? So if you go to the knowledge base and just go to the financials and integrated bank feeds, we have an article about how to select your live feed using Arthur. What you can see here is, like I said, we support the CMA9. It has a link to the CMA9, Handelsbanken and Monzo. We're going to be updating this. Like I said, if you'd like support from the UK bank, please email support@arthur.online. So hopefully that answers your question, Emma. Ian has asked, how live is the bank feed? Updates by the minute, by the hour. So what happens is we run an automated sync every hour. But if you want to run a manual sync, then you can click the drop down and you can press synchronize bank account and it will manually sync over there. So yeah, so if you integrate to Xero for statutory financial accounts, PAYE, VAT, is this applicable? Again, like I said, what I'd probably recommend is just putting the client account through here and the business account through Xero. If you need to run them both through the same thing and you are running those financial accounts and PAYE and VAT, then it makes sense to keep using Xero. Like I said, this is just an extra option to people. And it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to use this. You can keep using Xero, you can keep using QuickBooks. It doesn't really matter how you choose to use it. So again, it's fully up to you. If you want to, again, this seems like quite a detailed question. It might be worth coming on a live chat and having a detailed conversation with us to find out the answer to you and what might best suit you. So Richard asked, sorry, I just lost connection about, yes. So the Xero integration itself is free if you want to do it yourself. So but if you do the integration yourself to Xero, it is something that is quite complicated to do. And if you don't have a good understanding of the business and of how to use Arthur and how to use Xero, there are likely to be lots of mistakes that are made. So for clients who integrate themselves to Xero, we don't support them. So if you want our support and you want help and to make sure it's done correctly, you can pay for us to do the integration for you. But regardless of which option you choose out of those two, you still have to pay a Xero subscription. Xero costs £20 to £25 a month, depending on which package you pick. So regardless of you do the integration yourself, you'll be paying £20 to £25 a month on Xero rather than $12.99 plus VAT per month for hours. And again, whether it's best if you're already subscribed to Xero, again, like I said, it just fully depends on your requirements. We're not telling you to do one, we're not telling you to do the other. It just depends what suits you. We like to give our clients as much choice as possible. Christina has asked, we've been using Xero since 2016, so all the historical records are in Xero, not Arthur. Can you use this and continue with Xero for accounts? Yes, you can. So what will happen essentially is if you wanted to just use Xero to use Arthur to reconcile your client account, what you do is you'll disconnect the live bank feed from your client account on Xero. You would disconnect the integration between Arthur and Xero, and you'd run the bank feed fully on Arthur, and you can keep everything you've got in zero. So again, it's a really simple setup for you. Mike asks, can you track directors' loans and asset transactions? Yes, you can. So, like I said, you'd likely be within assign to. So what you would do is you would add your own custom codes. If I just go to financials and I go to analysis codes, I can add one in. So I can select add analysis code, and let's say I want to go directors' loans. And I'd say available for cashback reconciliation, and you'll have a U account for it. So whatever, let's say I'm just going to put income. You put that on there and you put that as save. And then what happens whenever you select assign to, followed by income, within transaction type, you'd be able to filter to that director's loan. And you can account for it however you want. So you can see that over there. Hopefully that answers your question, Mike. Someone has asked, can I receive a copy of the videos? I missed the initial setup. Yeah, this is being recorded. We're going to upload it to our YouTube page very shortly. What I'll do is probably wait a few hours, take a bit of time to render this stuff and upload it to the internet. So tomorrow, if you want a copy of it, you can go in on there. And like I said, in the meantime, we have this section on the knowledge base that has everything I covered on here with a video. So again, it's really, really simple for you guys to go through on there. Someone asked, are you looking into getting the the pay information in the feed, as this would be really useful? I agree it would be incredibly useful, but unfortunately, the banks don't have a field for payee in that sense. It's quite difficult for us to do it. If they ever did include a payee within the field, then we could, depending on the bank, hopefully put that onto there. But like I said, if you can get your tenants to put in their TE reference, which from experience dealing with sort of lots of clients and as a result, lots of tenants, they're very receptive to putting in their TE number into the thing. If you just tell them, put a TE number in there. I mean, I've even heard of some clients who've wrote it into their contracts that they have to do that. And essentially what that'll allow you to do is then you can take advantage of our advanced matching logic and actually it will suggest the right ones based off that, make them need to pay a little bit less. So somebody asked again, you mentioned it's $12.99 per month. Like I said, is that one bank account or multiple? It's for multiple. It's for anything that's linked within your business. Someone said, if you could actually move money in the bank, that would be awesome. We agree. We know it'd be great for you guys. Again, it's within our development pipeline. We're looking to release it in sort of Q2, Q3 this year, and you'd be able to actually sort of move money directly within Arthur. Fully understand how beneficial that would be to you, and we really want to do that for you guys. Does this reconciliation give you a total value of invoices raised and payments received from conversion dates? Yes, that would probably be through a section within the reports, but it'd be a very, very simple report. What we'd do is we'd get a report of all invoices from the conversion date onwards to today, and you can see the total value divided by transaction type or divided by tenant, and then also you can track. Then you can also run a separate report for, let's say, payments that have come in from the Arthur bank feed. So again, you can really go granular on it. That would be a report that'd be really easy to set up for our team. So if you just ask in the live chat, we can easily do that for you. Refund of deposit options. So in the same way that property owner remittances appear as a spent item, so do tenant remittances. So as long as you've carried out the tenant remittance within Arthur, that will show up there as a spent item for you to reconcile against. Someone said, how do you deal with rent guarantees? Rent in needs to go to the business. So I assume you're talking about a guaranteed rent scenario where you set up let's say £500 or whatever your agreement is with the owner, a £500 sort of monthly payment that goes out. That could be done really simply. What we'd recommend is to go within the unit on Arthur and set up a recurring charge for a rent-to-rent credit of, let's say, £500 in this example. And you could remit that each month and you'd reconcile it as a spent item. So very, very simple for you to handle. It's a specific use case. So like I said, we can write an article for that, or if you just wanted to book a tutorial, we can easily set that up for you as well, Haley. Again, someone asked about the video, said it's being recorded, we'll upload it as soon as we can. Andrew asked, if we only wanted to match and reconcile rent and income, can you filter out expenses, or better to set up a separate client account just for tenants to pay rent into? In the meantime, let's say what would probably do is you can reconcile your rental income, and everything that doesn't, you can just quickly link to assign to. So I have someone who has assigned to income, and as a transaction type, they've just got general income, and then they've got a contact called general, and they just quickly reconcile everything out using assign to. And then, like I said, they're maybe doing what you're doing and actually going through the process of setting up a separate client account that the tenants pay their rent into. Then once they've done that, you can set that one up through there. Haley asks, how does this fit into the Go Cardless reconciliation that is being developed? So currently what we're doing, as I said, we're working on a Go Cardless reconciliation tool within Arthur. And essentially what will happen is you would have your, let's say, 10 rents are logged in and you've received £9,862 by Go Cardless or whatever. What you'd do is you'd first go to the Go Cardless reconciliation. You'd reconcile through them all. And once you reconciled the Go Cardless reconciliation, that would create a received item of the full value matched towards the Go Cardless payment that's come in. And you would reconcile those two against each other like anything else. So what you'd do is sort of work would be to go into Go Cardless reconciliation, reconcile that, and then go onto the bank feed and reconcile that through there. Can this easily use bulk payments received from Go Cardless made up of multiple rent payments? So yeah, I've discussed that. How do we see a profit and loss? So like I said, these are reports we're currently developing. So what we'll do is they'll be available in your account when you subscribe to the feed. So once you subscribe to the feed, you can ask us and we can make those reports available for you so you can see it. But essentially it's divided between income and expenses and separated by transaction type. Someone has asked, is there a way to look at the accounts in Arthur, for example, seeing how much has been collected to bank fees? Yes, that would be done within the reporting, and you can track those easily. Someone said, can you send the link of the FAQ via email or the chat so we can look at it conveniently? What you'll be doing is at the end of this webinar, you're all going to get an email just to say sort of thank you for attending, and within that, we'll make sure to include that link over there. Are you looking to increase security in Arthur such as adding two-step verification? Yes, that's something we're looking at implementing in the near future. How does this deal with the remittance advice to contractors who aren't on the Arthur app? What I'd recommend, David, for you to do is you can essentially run through that whole process. So you can add in a contractor transaction, you can reconcile it and pay it, and then you can reconcile it on the bank feed over there. Can you remind me of the zero integration cost? So we have 3 different packages. We have a basic support package, a plus package where you get 3 training tutorials. There is a complete package where you get 9 training tutorials and a training day included in it. And the price increases from each to each. What I'd recommend doing is if you want to know the detailed price, it's hard to give a price. It depends on your setup. So for example, if you've already got a zero account, if you want us to create the zero account for you, etc., it can be quite a few variables. If you just emailed sales at Arthur Online and say, just in the webinar, I'd like to know a little more about zero. Here's a basic setup of my business, and just, give a few lines to go into it. We can give you a sort of more accurate quote. Is there a limit as to how many accounts I can use the live bank feed for? No, like I said, you can link as many client accounts as you want to it. And I said all falls in that $12.99 cost. And then Andy's asked, will you email this video, please, so I can share it with my team? Yes, I said we're going to be, you'll all be getting it as a video for you to watch. All I'd recommend doing is just, following up probably tomorrow in the live chat to get that on there. So that is all the questions that have come through so far. Has anyone else got any questions? Again, John has asked again about the verification. Yes, we're looking at introducing 2-step authentication in the near future. There's a few things on the chat. How reliable will this tool be in the first month? Very reliable. I don't see any reason why I wouldn't. It's gone through extensive testing. Is there an automatic reconciliation rule? Unfortunately, we don't have that right now. That would be something that would be looking to do. And on the first of the month, yes, it's going to be very reliable. You have the live bank feed that will come through, and you can simply reconcile that how you want to reconcile it. No concerns to that end. Cool. So I'll just wait another for the minute or so, just in case anyone asks any further questions. But like I said, if you do have any questions, just please go onto the live chat and ask our team. We're all ready to help. And if you want some specific questions about your setup, you can get in contact with us as well. What I'd recommend is if we're also offering a bespoke setup package charged at £75 plus VAT. And what that involves is that will basically be we'll have a meeting, like a 15 to 20 minute call initially, understand your requirements, get everything set up for you. And then you'll get an hour training alongside it as well. And bespoke to your guy to set up and making sure everything's all working how you want it to. So if you're interested, £75 plus VAT, we can have that bespoke setup. you'll just simply, I think, just email sales@arthurandline.co.uk, let them know you're interested in the £75 plus VAT package, and we can get that set up. Are people using this bookkeeper's accounts or just concerned about getting accurate accounts? I said it's very accurate. It just, whether you're a bookkeeper, whether you're an accountant, whether you're just a property manager, it doesn't really matter. You're going to be getting the bank feed that comes through, all the transactions based off there, and you can export the key information that you need to export and report on the key information you need to report on. So it looks like there aren't any further questions. So I just want to thank everybody for attending. And like I said, if you have any questions, please comment in the live chat. I'll put my email on the chat as well. So if you guys want to ask me a question personally, feel free to do that. So just putting my email on here. That'll be on there. I'm just going to go on mute now. So it looks like there aren't any more questions. Thank you so much to everybody who attended. I hope you found it useful. And I said we're going to send out as much useful material as we can for it. Thank you so much for your time today. Again, we really hope you use the feature. So we're offering it completely for free up until the end of March. So you can even try it for 2 months, decide you don't like it, and unsubscribe. It's fully up to you. We really think it's going to help you guys. Like you said, for the £75 plus that, you can set it up all for you, get it bespoke, fully tailored to your account and your needs. And you can get that delivered for you sort of really quickly. So if that's something you do want to do and you do want to get set up with, please email sales@arthurandline.co.uk and say I'm interested in the £75 plus that package. Okay. And like I said, Ian, don't worry, you'll be getting that email across very soon. We've got a list of all the attendees and we'll be sending that across. Thank you so much to everyone who attended. Like I said, I hope anyone who needs it has got my email over there. And it's been a pleasure presenting to you guys. If you've got any questions, just please let me know. Thank you so much. Bye.